Welcome to the Label Podcast, a show about disability, illness and difference. I'm Lucy.
And I'm Alice.
And that's Lola.
Kaleidoscope identity, and this is who I'm meant to be. I'm just labeled me. I'm just labeled me.
Don't forget, in this episode, I might swear, Lucy might cry, and you can check out details of the trigger warnings on our website.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Labelled Podcast, the show about disability, illness and difference. We are in the middle of our first season, season 1A, if you like, because there is 100 more before this season for you to go and listen to. I am Lucy, and I'm here with my co-host, Alice. Hello, Alice.
Hello, Lucy.
Lovely to see you and spend time with you at last. How are you?
It has been a long time. Yeah, no, I'm okay. I am busy. I've forgotten what it means to sit down and not just be doing something. So, if somebody could please remind me of what it's like to feel rested, that would be great.
You and me both, kiddo. You and me both. I'm very excited about today's guests today.
I'm really excited about today's guest. When Emma, our volunteer, first said, "Oh, I think you should have Chloe on," I was like, "Oh my god, yes!" And like, make this happen.
Absolutely.
This is really cool.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So, without further ado, I would like to introduce this week's guest, Chloe Hammond. Chloe, hello.
Hi guys, I'm super excited to be here.
I love it. She's so upbeat. I feel better already.
Can you tell Chloe's a listener? Chloe, can you tell the listeners a little bit about yourself, please?
So my name is Chloe Hammond. I am currently the only wheelchair using nurse with an assistance dog working in the UK.
Wow, what an opener. That is amazing. Yeah. Wow.
You'd need quite a big t-shirt to fit that all on though, I feel like. Or if you did it, is it an anagram where it's left? No, an anagram's when it's all mixed up. When you like, acronym, you'd have to do a letter, so it would be, acronym. So it would be CONW. We could be here a while.
Chloe, do you want to tell us a bit about your background and how you got into nursing, and we can go from there and find out a little bit more about you, because this sounds fascinating.
So I decided I wanted to be a nurse as a young teenager. I guess, like most people with chronic illness, I spent a lot of time in and out of hospital. I met a lot of healthcare professionals. I met some that I really liked, and I met some that I wasn't so fond of. And I wanted to be one of the good ones. I wanted to be one of the people that when a child or young person goes into hospital, there's somebody that they can relate to, someone they can talk to, and someone that can help them on that journey to recovery. Because I've been there, I've done it. I understand some of the feelings that they might be having and how I dealt with them. So yeah, I went on, I did my nursing degree in London. Crazy hard, but well worth it. Tried to quit lots of times, but my parents weren't having that. So I've been working as a nurse now for 11 years, which makes me feel really old. Like, to me, it feels like yesterday that I was graduating. And then you look back at everything that I've done since then, and it's madness. So although I trained as a children's nurse, and I absolutely love working with children and young people, I'm actually working more with older people at the minute with learning disabilities, complex needs. It's completely not what I thought I was ever going to do, but I absolutely love my job.
It sounds...
That's cool.
It's like a really cool thing to do. Chloe, do you get a lot of people that when you tell them what you do, are they surprised because you are a wheelchair? I take it you're a wheelchair user. And,
I am. So I can walk a little bit. I've got AFOs and crutches and all sorts of other things to help me walk, but walking is painful and difficult. Mm-hmm. So some days you just don't want to fight that battle as well as everything else.
Yeah.
So I do use my wheelchair most of the time. You get mixed reactions. There's some people who see it as absolutely incredible and, you know, if you can do that, then maybe I should give something a go. And then you get other people that question I guess, your knowledge. So I've had people say like, "Oh, how can you be a nurse? How can you know how to help other people? Like, how have you done the training?" Well, I've done the same training as everyone else. I just sit down more.
Yeah, exactly. I've just done it sat down. Yeah, it's fascinating. I mean, how was your experience sort of university and things like that? Did you find much pushback there? I mean, because I know that we've spoken to a lot of people, haven't we, Alice, who've gone to university and found that experience incredibly difficult. And
well, we specifically, we spoke to somebody who came on the show who also has some chronic illnesses, who wanted to get into medicine herself, and said that she certainly made the decision for herself, but I think, if I remember correctly, she also said that she got quite a lot of pushback from kind of teachers, that she just didn't feel it was felt that she wouldn't necessarily be able to get through, particularly the residency kind of element of it, where you've got to be in, you know, hospitals, in accident and emergency and things like that, and her energy levels and things like that she wouldn't be able to have coped with. So I know that there's definitely, that is something that kind of happens for disabled people wanting to get into that medical space, is this kind of or how are you going to be able to manage?
Definitely, and that happens all the way through. So yeah, I applied to 5 universities, I think. I didn't get accepted by any of them. Wow. There were comments made about whether or not I would be suitable for the role. There was comments made about my mental health, and, you know, was I mentally able to do the course and look after other people? God. Like, there were just so many assumptions that being disabled makes you weak. And
you just think that's unrelated entirely to a physical condition.
Yeah.
You know, yes, lots of people with disabilities have got mental health difficulties, but that's because the world is not made for us.
Yeah.
not because we're disabled, and having that, you know, or how are you supposed to look after other people? You probably can't even look after yourself.
Exactly that, yeah. And it's a really hard thing to try and explain to people that, yes, mental health and physical health are linked. For sure they are. Like, I think most people that have a physical disability have experienced some form of mental health crisis, or just difficulty with their mental health in terms of processing where they're at. But that doesn't mean that we don't get through it like everybody else. Yes, there's going to be people that have a bigger difficulty, but I think it's a massive percentage of people just in the general population, with and without disability, that have some form of mental health need at some point in their life. It just seems to be that people pick up on it more when it's somebody with a disability at the same time.
I think the stats are something like half of us
really
will experience a mental health issue at some. I think it's half or a third will experience a mental health issue at some point in their, you know, that has a significant impact on their life. Mm-hmm. And it's, you know, again, you wouldn't ask a non-disabled person, how are you going to cope with your obviously mental, particularly in something like nursing, you're going to see some really difficult things, and there's going to be some really traumatic stuff. And so a consideration of a person's mental health and resilience is important. But I think, you know, don't ask that question unless you've got evidence to prompt it.
I think society as a whole, they look at people with a disability and sometimes will automatically assume that we have mental health difficulties because we are disabled, because, you know, there's nothing worse than not being able to walk or not being able to see or, you know.
I think they very much project their feeling of how they think they would deal with the situation. Like, I've had people saying like, "Oh, it's so awful that you're in a wheelchair." No, it's not. It's great. I can do everything that I couldn't do beforehand.
Yeah. I always say that the one thing I don't worry about is walking. Do you know what I mean? That's the last thing on the list of things I worry about. And I worry about a lot of stuff. Ask Alice, she'll tell you. But the last thing I worry about is the fact that I can't walk. It's not a problem at all. Don't worry about it, babes. It's fine. I'm all right.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean?
So anyway, I had to go through clearing with the university process. I was really worried that I wasn't going to get a place at any of them. All my friends were starting at the top of the list and working their way down with A, so I started at the bottom of the list and went for West London.
Nice.
I went and did my interview, and I didn't tell them anything. I said that I might need a little bit of extra help with maybe staggered deadlines or maybe some extra time in exams, because I'd had that through school and college. But in terms of my physical health and my mental health, I didn't really tell them anything. I just applied for the course like everybody else and got on with it. And that was kind of my way of getting through the whole 3 years of university. Like, yes, I did use crutches at some points. I was very good at saying that I'd sprained an ankle, broken a toe, you know, twisted my knee. I never actually said that actually it's because I can't walk all the time.
Wow.
That is both shocking and also hilarious that you've got, like, people must have been like,
She's
Jesus
really,
Christ,
she's really clumsy.
how much is she drinking?
I've kicked the door again and broke my toe.
Exactly that, yeah. But I
Yeah.
did it, and I made it to the end of the course, and I did have to have a little bit of an extension on the end because I'd had some sickness. Again, never really said what was happening. I'd been in hospital and stuff, but I just, you know, I kept it to common things. I didn't want to make a big deal out of what I was battling in my own time because I didn't feel like it was any of their business. Like, I was doing the course because I wanted to be a nurse, not because I wanted them to judge my ability to be a nurse.
What impact did that have on, you know, like, if you needed to get extra support? Like, did you have to fight for that? Because that is one of the things, you know, at least if you've got that piece of paper that says, hey, I'm disabled, although when it comes, you know, in some ways there are obviously still barriers to support because people are just a bit shit at doing what they say they're going to do. But it does open up those doors in a lot of ways. If you go, but you need to do this for me 'cause disabled.
So they knew I had chronic fatigue. That was known through school and college. So I already had some adaptations in place that just kind of followed me into university. Mm-hmm. I didn't add anything. Like, in hindsight, there would have been things that would have been helpful, like being able to sit down more during practical exams, being able to sit down more on placement, perhaps not working as many night shifts. But at the same time, I wanted to pass the course exactly the same as all my colleagues, so that now when I look back, I can say, yes, I'm exactly the same trained as everybody else that did that course.
Yeah, I understand that.
And what about your peers, Chloe? Did anybody sort of cotton on, like, oh, what's happening here? Like, did you tell your closest friends or anything like that?
My friends from home obviously knew. My friends at university, no, I don't think any of them really knew. Like, everything I kept to myself. Like, I would speak a lot on the phone and video calls and stuff. I think back then we were still doing Skype calls. And I'd be contacting them on MSN Messenger and chatting about how I was doing. But no, my friends at university, again, I thought of them as future colleagues and I didn't want them to know my business.
Yeah. I think that is...
That's really interesting.
It is. And it also, I think for, you know, when we started this podcast, the biggest realisation for me was sort of realising that you didn't have to tell everybody your medical diagnosis. It was only when Alice said, why are you telling people, why are you telling random strangers in the street, why do you feel you have to tell people? And it was like, actually, yeah, Alice is right. I mean, Alice is always right, but you know, why
can I just get that, Adam? Can you just cut that so I can just play it to my husband on repeat, please? That would be great.
But yeah, it is that, it is. Well, I think once you learn that actually your medical diagnoses are nobody's business, it's quite freeing for you to just go. It's that kind of,
I've definitely moved away from always being, oh, you know, well, I'm visually impaired and, you know, this, I find this difficult and this difficult, to just being like, can you send me all documentation before the meeting, because guide dog user, and just being like, you don't get to hear about the specifics of my disability. You don't get to ask me questions about it, because exactly as you said, Chloe, it's none of your business. Like, you step up where I need you to step up. Like, why I need you to step up is nobody's business.
I've tried to stop apologising for things I'm not sorry for.
I apologise.
Oh God, Chloe.
I apologise all the time, for everything.
Right, but things like you go to a restaurant and the entrance for wheelchair users is round the back. Oh, I'm so sorry you have to move all the rubbish out the way. I'm not sorry at all. I want to go eat with everyone else.
It's like I've been out for lunch this afternoon with my mom, and they put us on this table, and the table legs were too wide, so my chair couldn't fit under the table, so they had to move me to a different table. And I went, I'm sorry. And
sorry.
Even the waitress went, why are you, don't worry about it, why are you sorry? I was like, it's just a force of habit.
I do it. Exactly. I was just going to say that. I do it probably 87 times every time I go in a supermarket, and I go, sorry, can you I hate it. I hate myself for it. I'm trying really hard in the work that I do to make better use of the word sorry. So I get really cross with myself for apologizing for me needing adaptations. And so I'm trying to use the word sorry to make other people painfully aware of their own fuck up.
Yeah,
I like that.
So for example, it's the only thing I can kind of think off the top of my head, but I was supporting somebody in a meeting recently, and this person has a learning disability, and their social worker was being really weird and really vague about why they were involved and what their concerns were about the family and like the dynamic and safety of children and stuff like that. And I was just, I got the distinct impression, because this woman had talked to me very openly on the phone before the meeting, I got the distinct impression that she was not saying, she wasn't being straightforward, because she was just like, well, this lady's got a learning disability, so she's not going to understand.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So she kept saying things, and I just kept saying, so sorry, what do you mean by that? Mm-hmm. And like, I'm sorry. So you mean that there's going to be legal action? So I'm sorry. So can you just clarify what you mean here? Because that is what that word is for. Mm-hmm. That word is for when I'm like, it's not for me apologizing for existing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But I think it's a societal thing, isn't it, that's been drummed into us from the day dot of, I'm terribly sorry I'm here. Sorry, but could you please feed me on a table that I can get underneath so I don't drop it on my lap? As it happened, I also did drop food on my lap, even though I was sat under the table. But it's such a big thing to sort of, and it's got so ingrained in us now that I don't think we realise we're doing it until somebody goes, why are you saying sorry?
I'm trying to thank people more. I'm trying to thank them for the efforts that they have made. Yeah. So when we go somewhere and I need the ramp, I will ask them for the ramp, and then I'll make a big deal of thanking them for doing it, because I am pleased they've done it, rather than sorry for bothering you, for making you do all that extra work. I'm so sorry that I came to this restaurant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's a very difficult thing to get your head around, I think.
And it's such a hard habit to break.
Yeah.
I do it every time I do it. You know, I'll be in Sainsbury's and I'll go, sorry, can you just, and then when the person is off, like has walked away, I'm like, fucking sakes, Alice.
Why did you do that?
Yeah.
I mean,
I want to shout, I take it back, I'm not sorry, but thank you for helping.
I'm sorry for saying sorry.
So your guide dog, how old's your dog?
My guide dog is 5.5 now. She's dog number 2. I had my first dog Lola when I was 23, and then Dora joined the family. It'll be 3 years in October.
Oh, amazing! Otto will be 3.5 in July.
Still a baby.
Still a puppy.
So does Otto come to work with you, Chloe?
Otto goes everywhere. So Otto's trained with Dog Aid. So very similar trained to a guide dog, except he does tasks that are helpful for me. So things like helping me get undressed, unloading and loading the washing machine, which seems to be everybody's favourite task to talk about.
Yeah. Picking
things up if I drop them, opening and closing doors. So things that help me, like a guide dog guides somebody who can't see. He helps me with my mobility.
Do you know,
I could do with the picking stuff up when I drop things. Like, the only thing the Dora will pick up is food, unfortunately.
I'm sure you could teach her.
I will just say that my brain, when you said unloading and loading the washing machine, my brain changed the word washing machine to dishwasher, and I was like, that's amazing. How are they taking plates out of the dishwasher? He's not got posable thumbs. Look, stupid.
He'll carry plates to the dishwasher, but he can't get them out.
No, obviously.
My last guide dog was very good at licking stuff whilst it was in the dishwasher. I don't know if that's the same.
Yeah. That's amazing though. So do you find that Otto, when you're at work, is he kind of icebreaker for patients and things? Is it kind of...
Yeah.
I'm kind of relaxed about this. So I know a lot of people don't like people interacting with their dog because it's working, and I completely understand that. And I feel the same way when I'm trying to do something like shopping at Tesco. Yeah. But when I'm at work, I'm very much aware how much animals can help people that are struggling. So we've actually done some additional training with a therapy dog company so that he understands his role as a therapy dog more when he's at work. So he will sit on people's beds, he'll be stroked, he'll do little games like, you know, giving them a paw, touching their nose, stuff like that. And it's a massive distraction, which can be super helpful when you're talking about difficult conversations. Like to be able to talk to somebody about their mental health while they sit there and stroke the dog is brilliant. Like it's made such a difference to the care that I can offer because I have him with me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to work in care homes and would certainly see that a lot with people, that it's just you know, especially when you're living in those kind of restricted situations where you don't see animals very often, you probably don't even get out very often. Having that, it is a real, for people who are into animals, it really warms the whole relationship up very quickly.
It does, and you can get people to do things that they don't know they're doing it. So my role as a wellbeing nurse is very much to help people with their independence and improve things like their health, their fitness. So we do lunchtime walk and we take the dog to the field and the residents come with me and it's lovely, and we play fetch, and that means that they're bending down and picking the ball up. It means they're using their shoulders to throw it. Like they're laughing, they're smiling, they're out in the sun, and they haven't even realised they've done it. All they think they've done is come with me because I didn't want to go for a walk on my own.
Yeah, it's very clever, isn't it? Really,
it is.
You know, and like I said, it takes away the whole medical. You know, you got to go out and get some exercise, or you know, this has got to happen to you. It sort of like softens that a little bit, doesn't it? Softens the blow a little bit. I know that when I'm going to hospital for bits and pieces, I would like Bertie the bulldog to come with me all the time because he just would. I mean, he'd just get in the way, but it would just be
he'd just bark at all the stuff.
Absolutely. He's just spent 20 minutes before this podcast recording barking, and I'm like, what is wrong with you?
How old is he?
He is, I can't remember because he's actually my sister's dog. He's 6.
Okay.
So, but he thinks he is a baby dog. He's not a baby dog. He is a bulldog. He's quite a big dog.
Have you thought about an assistance dog? Have you thought about an assistance dog for you?
No, I haven't really, to be honest, because I think I would just, I can sort of, I manage really with a lot of swearing and wobbling about, to be honest. And to be honest, I do think sometimes the dog, because Bertie does like to think he is my assistance dog, unofficially, but he will just sit there like a lump of coal. Like, can you move, Bertie? And he's just looking at me like, no, I'm just sitting here with you. It's just to make sure you're all right. Just to make sure you got on and off the toilet all right, you know, kind of thing. But no, he is like my little shadow, Bertie. I love him to bits, but he's not actually my dog. So at the end of the day, he goes home to his mum and my sister, and it's quite nice to have a bit of peace and quiet.
Your privacy is gone once you've got a working dog, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh yeah, that was the thing that when I became a parent, everybody was like, "Oh, you'll never get to go to the toilet on your own." I was like, "I've had a guide dog for 10 years. I haven't been to the toilet on my own for 10 years."
I was in the shower the other day, and I shut the door, and Bertie was outside the bathroom. And because I'd shut the door, he was barking. I'm like, I'm in the shower. Will you go away?
My first guide dog, Lola, if you shut her out of the bathroom, as soon as your ass hit the toilet seat, all you do is... right under the door. She was like, what are you doing? No, you can't possibly wee without me.
See, Otto can open doors.
Yeah, you see?
Yeah, I was going to say.
He'll just let himself in. There's no point shutting him out.
So, life before Otto, what was life like before Otto, and how did you manage?
So I actually bought him as a pet. I didn't intend on having an assistance dog. I didn't really know much about them. So obviously we did the whole COVID thing. That was fun, wasn't it? We all had a great time. And I spent 9 months in a 1-bedroom flat by myself, absolutely terrified to even open the window. So when we were all suddenly told that actually COVID's still around, but you'll be absolutely fine now, ignore all those letters we've sent you for the last year, I was terrified.
Especially as a healthcare professional.
Exactly, yeah. So I didn't know what to do with myself. I was absolutely terrified of being outside. I wanted to go down to see my mum's new house because she'd moved during lockdown, and I'd seen it on video calls, but it's not the same. And she picked me up, and before we'd even reached the end of the road, I was in tears. I was convinced that this was the wrong decision to be making. And Mum was really worried about me, like, understandably. I'd gone from being a nurse that was working all over the place to somebody that wouldn't leave my flat. I wouldn't even collect the mail from the mailbox because I didn't know who'd touched it, who'd put it in there. And she was like, why don't you get yourself a pet? Get yourself a dog, go for walks with it. Just start getting outside again and enjoying life. So I did that. I bought a puppy. I bought a puppy on Gumtree. I didn't know that this wasn't a great idea. I did do everything. I went and visited him, and I went and visited his mum and all that. Realistically, I wouldn't buy from Gumtree again. Nothing wrong with the person I bought him from, but he was clearly an accidental litter, and did come with his health problems. But we got through it. He was a pet at the end of the day, and if he was going to have health issues, it wasn't going to affect me because I just wanted a nice Labrador to cuddle. Yeah. But we got to about 18 months old, and I was seeing how he could help me. I had friends with guide dogs, and they were saying, like, that this dog could be trained to actually do more than just exist. And I started looking into options, and that's when I found the charity Dog Aid, who literally help change pet dogs into working assistance dogs. And I learned all about task training. I learned all about, I could take him shopping with me. He could get that stuff from the bottom shelf. He could pass stuff to the shop assistant for scanning. And I realised that actually he's quite clever. And once he had had his surgery and things when he was a puppy, he was a very healthy little dog. So we trained with them until he was 2 and a bit. So he's been qualified for just over a year now.
Wow. That is amazing, isn't it? To know that a standard pet dog. I mean, because I think guide dogs as puppies a puppy that is bred to become a guide dog, they are amazing anyway.
Well, and their training starts basically
as soon
from
as it's kind of
as soon as they're able to leave mum. So the fact that Otto was that bit older and he still managed to pick up all of those skills. Before I had my first guide dog, we had a pet Labrador whose approach to trying to get through a door if it was closed was to just run into the door and hope for the best.
Let's see, is this open?
So like sometimes the door would be like just push to and it would be fine. Sometimes the door would just be closed and you just hear a bang and you'd be like, oh, Sammy would like to come in. And so the idea that there are pet dogs out there who with the right support can be transformed into life changers.
We did a lot of work, obviously. Like we did a lot of puppy training, and I had started teaching him things from YouTube videos. Like he learned how to open and close the fridge because we watched YouTube videos and I followed it. But I didn't realise that he could go from a dog that had learned some tasks at home to an actually task trained assistance dog. Like that to me seemed like such a massive leap that I just didn't really understand the process of.
Yeah
no, it's sort of, you think anyone can train their dog to like sit or bring them their slippers. The idea that it's I mean it's I think those organizations are incredible. I'm supporting somebody at the moment to look at different dogs for to support her with her autism, her anxiety and things like that. The stuff that they do is incredible. They can help you literally create like a physical barrier around you when you're having a meltdown. They just run in circles around you to just keep you safe and keep other people out of your kind of personal space. And it's just that a dog can sense that you're feeling that and offer you that support is just incredible.
We don't give them enough credit.
No, they are. They're very. You don't get cats doing that, do you? Really? Cats are just like, you could sod off.
You'll be fine. Take a bath.
Yeah, you'll be all right. You just calm yourself down. Go and sit under a duvet or something. I don't care. Whereas the dog's like, here, let me give you a hug. Are you all right?
Yeah.
My cat has worked out how to reach up inside his automatic feeder and fish biscuits out.
That's clever.
But it's very much for his own gain. Yeah. He would not. You could be starving on the floor and all you need is one biscuit and he'd be like, no, I'm not doing that.
these are my biscuits.
Yeah, he would rather smother you and just let you die and just be like, now I have all the biscuits.
Absolutely, yeah.
We've just been on a cruise, me and Otto. That was a pretty cool experience. I didn't know that you could take a dog on a cruise, and you can, and it's amazing.
Wow.
So how long was the cruise for?
We did a week on the cruise ship, visited a French island, Italy, France and Spain. And then we spent another week just at a hotel in Barcelona, which worked out really good because they
okay.
used to have a swimming pool, especially for the terrapins, but they've just got rid of them because they've gone to a terrapin sanctuary. So they had a whole empty swimming pool, which they dedicated to my dog.
Amazing.
Amazing.
What a great holiday for the dog. I mean,
Yeah.
Definitely.
so cruising on a ship with a guide dog, huh? That's it. I didn't know.
God.
I didn't know that could happen.
I mean, being on a boat and trying to keep my own balance is hard enough. I can't imagine trying to do it with 4 legs.
No.
Do you know what? He didn't really notice. Like, there was a lot of people that got quite seasick on the second day, and I don't think he really noticed. I guess like having the 4 legs rather than 2 made it a bit less wobbly. I don't really know.
I hardly ever get travel sick, and I think it's because I'm on wheels most of the time. I don't get that sensation of, I feel a bit, It's like I can look at my phone in the car while the car's moving. Mum's like, I don't know how you can do that. I was like, Mum, I'm on wheels all of the time. Yeah. It's fine. I can multitask. Leave me alone. It's all right.
I think it is different.
See, I'm the other way. My eyes jump like uncontrollably. So I think I'm kind of in a permanent low-level state of feeling a bit seasick. Yeah. So going on boats, I'm just like, this is just another Thursday. It's fine.
Absolutely fine. No, I think that's really good though that they sort of.
I would recommend cruising. I found it a really accessible way of seeing a lot of places.
Well, and like you don't have to take your chair on an aeroplane and watch them throw it around like it's made of cardboard while you go. Do you mind not doing that, please? It's my legs. And you can also, get out of your chair and have a wee whilst you're still moving. It's quite whereas you can't on an aeroplane, really. I definitely, it's on my list of things I want to do. I just need to work out where I want to go. And if I want to go on one of these, the celebrity ones where you get like up on Dubec for a week or something. I'm hoping to get one where Jane McDonald pops up and just does a few numbers. I mean, because Jane McDonald has sold me on cruising. I've watched too many episodes of Cruising with Jane McDonald, but then I realised...
Clearly.
But then I realised the reason why she sold me on cruising is because she's Jane McDonald. Of course they've given her the top, suite on the cruise ship. And the
accessible room was pretty good. I had a big double bed for me and Otto. And then my mum had a fold-out bed that was on the wall at the end of the room, but loads of space for my chair. We had a big wet room. It was really good, but they didn't plan it as well as maybe I'd have hoped. In as much as I didn't realise until a few days before we were cruising that the room they'd originally put us in, the door frame wasn't as wide as my wheelchair.
Okay.
But it's just about checking what's happening. So they thought that having a bigger room would be better for me and the dog and mum because we'd have more space, which I agree we probably would have enjoyed it, and it had a balcony. But it wasn't until I was looking at the actual logistics of it I was like, I do like the bigger room, but actually my chair doesn't fit, so it's not going to work for me.
It's going to be slightly different if actually I'm sleeping in a corridor all week. You know what I mean? You've got to get in there first, haven't you? No, I definitely think it's something on the list. I will become Jane McDonald of the Midlands with a GoPro attached to my head. Here I am at the buffet car again for the 4th time this morning.
Your podcast's going to become very repetitive. So here's me at the buffet.
A spag bol at 10:30 at night. Alice is just looking at me like, what are you talking about?
I'm slightly concerned that this episode is going to result in a restraining order from Jane McDonald.
Possibly.
I didn't realise that you had this secret obsession.
No, it's not. It's just I like watching her cruising programmes because I think, that looks nice. I'll go down on my holidays. And I never do I? I've not been on holiday for years. No, never met her. It's probably
maybe one of your listeners knows somebody who knows somebody who could hook you guys up.
Yeah. Get me a free cruise. Sponsored by P&O. Anyway, where were we?
I think this all started with really interesting, serious conversations about Chloe's work as a nurse.
Maybe we just cut all of this out about the cruising. No, I don't know.
It's 10 minutes worth of content. We can't cut it. It's fine.
Use it for bonus. It's fine.
So do you feel, Chloe, obviously you said you felt like you got into nursing to try and really, really make a difference. I assume you're still in nursing, so you feel like that has happened, but has there ever been anything that's kind of really you felt you've not been able to achieve, perhaps because of other barriers that have been kind of put up in front of you? Have you do you still experience that kind of exclusion and some of the frustration that, you know, you've talked about in the past?
I mean, I don't experience it so much where I work now. I think they're a very inclusive organisation and they're very willing to listen. So when there have been things that I found difficult, I've just told them and it's been sorted out pretty much straight away. But like historically, yeah, definitely. I used to work in the NHS and I loved it. I pictured myself working in the NHS till I retired. And we're so short of nurses and we're so short just in general of time. And I thought I could make a difference that way. But when I started being more of a wheelchair user, I didn't feel like I fitted. And it wasn't that anybody was particularly saying it, but like I felt like I didn't fit in. I felt like I couldn't do the job that I had trained to do. I was working in an office role and like everything was just always being questioned and I felt awkward. I felt like I was being difficult. So asking for things like more space in the office so that I could bring my wheelchair wasn't possible, and they wanted it to be left at reception. And to them that was an adjustment because they were allowing me to bring it to work. They just didn't want it in the office. But to me it wasn't acceptable. Like I wanted to use the equipment that I was supposed to be using. So little things.
But if somebody said to me, "Oh yeah, no, you can bring your dog, but you've got to leave him at reception," I'd be like, "Well, then I'm not coming."
Exactly that.
We'll sit
So
in
I
the
got
car.
moved upstairs. I got moved to an office on, I think it was level 6 or 7, and I asked what happens in the event of an emergency, like because you don't have an evac chair, and they're like, "Oh, well, as support staff, you would have to evacuate like everybody else down the stairs." And I was like, "Right, but I can't do that." And they're like, "Oh, well, you'd have to." So that's kind of that. And to me, that felt so unsafe. And I just like
that's absolutely like the Equality Act is. A public service has to make a reasonable adjustment. That's not a reasonable adjustment.
But hospitals are weirdly inaccessible for staff. Like, ask anyone that works at your local hospital how many disabled changing rooms they've got for staff. And it's probably none. So no, I didn't feel welcome. So I left. And I left just handing my notice in and quit. And it was a massive decision, but for my mental health, I couldn't do it anymore. I was being made to feel like I couldn't be a nurse. I was being made to feel like all my training and all that hard work at uni and all that just battling the system was useless. Like I hadn't achieved anything, and now I was going to achieve even less because I couldn't even work. So I quit and I applied for a job in a care home as an activities coordinator because it sounded like a freaking awesome job, like arranging day trips and oh god, I thought I'd be great at it. So I spoke to a care home manager and I did all the interview and stuff and I was absolutely buzzing, and she went, "Look, you're way overqualified for this job. Why have you applied for it?" And I was like, "Well, I can't be a nurse and I don't have any other qualifications. I don't really have any other transferable skills. And so I think I could do this." And she was like, "Right, you need to stop and reassess and you need to apply for a nurse position here." And she didn't have any, which was kind of a bit of a downer. But she was like, "I will get back in touch. As soon as we've got a nurse position, I will be back in touch and it's yours." And I was like, "Oh, yeah, of course you will. Everybody says they'll be back in touch." But no, she really was. 9 months later, she really was. And so when I did go back to working after COVID, I went back and worked as a nurse in that home that I'd first applied to.
Wow. And are you still there now? Yeah.
No, so I've moved about a few times, like, you know, when management changes and you don't really feel like staying. So I've shifted about because each time something has happened, be it new management or be it a change of ownership or whatever, you seem to go through the whole process again and you're sent to occupational health again and you have to battle them about your fitness to work and you have to reapply for all these adjustments that you'd previously had. And I just couldn't be bothered with it. And I caught COVID twice in a row. And so I'd been off work for a month and a bit and I didn't really want to go back because it just wasn't working for me. And I'd done a 24-hour shift where the agency staff hadn't turned up. So me and Otto had ended up staying the night at the care home. And I was like, you know what? I can't do this anymore. It doesn't work for me. And the job that I have now came up. So it's a complex care community lead nurse, which essentially means I help people go home. So it might be that they've been in hospital a long time with breathing tubes, feeding tubes, just that their mobility has changed. Maybe they've got MND. I help those people go home with adaptations, working with OTs and things. And then I train care staff how to look after them as if they were still in the hospital.
I know.
Which is great. Like most of
Yeah.
the houses are either adapted or are about to be adapted.
Yeah.
And most of the clients that I look after are more than happy to have me visit them because I'm in a similar boat.
Yeah.
Most of them are happy to have Otto visit, and if not, we book him into daycare. It's not an issue. But it's a really good job. Where it's been a little bit quieter recently, I mean, you can't really predict how many people are going to need care packages at home. I've actually been working in this home. It's an assisted living facility up in Gloucester. And I've been working there as a health and wellbeing nurse advisor. So that's lovely. It's the other side, I guess, of what I do. So I do complex and I do just, let's have a cup of tea and have a chat about how you're feeling.
Yeah. I guess that's a really nice overall kind of balance as well. And like I say, I think with your circumstances as well, that must be so reassuring to your clients, you know, people who've been in hospital for a long time, to see you and to see you with your service dog and go, do you know what, I think everything's going to be all right, because Chloe understands this on a level that perhaps other nurses might not. I mean, I'm not saying that they don't understand, because nurses, they will understand, but I don't think they can't possibly know the nuances and the deeper impacts that coming home with, you know, tubes and medical needs and things. It's coming home when you're healthy is one thing. Coming home when you've got extra bits of equipment that you're not used to is another thing entirely. So I think having you there to go, it's all right, you know, I can hold your hand through it. Must be really rewarding for you as a nurse.
I found it's quite different. Working as a nurse in an acute health setting is very different to working as a nurse in the community. So, like, I don't know your experiences of being in hospital, but I think going back to what we were saying earlier about apologising, I think when you're in hospital, the nurses and doctors and everybody else see you as a challenge that needs fixing. So maybe you've gone in with a broken arm. They're going to see that acute problem. They're going to fix that acute problem and send you home. But when you go in with a chronic health condition, they will help with the acute bit. So maybe you've got a chest infection, but actually in terms of your overall health, they can't really help you with that. And I think that's part of what makes you feel like a problem. And you go home from that being like, oh God, I was such an inconvenience. But actually, once you get home, my job is to teach you that yes, it's different, and yes, it's going to be tricky, but actually it's your new way of living, and it's the living bit that we need to do, setting goals, getting out and about, and actually being a bit more independent, even if that means that you need carers to help you do it.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the things that, like, I've certainly experienced in my own kind of a life of I've been reasonably fortunate as an adult to not have a lot of kind of, touch wood, health crises. But one of the things that I was obviously as a child super accident prone because I was a child and also couldn't see, and so I broke bones and stuff all the time. And you certainly get that of doctors, you know, in hospital settings and stuff. They see the broken arm and they're like, all right, well, you come this way, and I'm like, I can't see where you're going.
Exactly, yeah.
And it's the extra, you know, Lucy falls out of a chair and breaks a rib. They're going to say, okay, well, Lucy's got broken rib. They're not necessarily going to think about, one, how that's going to impact her in the long term as a wheelchair user, but also in terms of delivering that care and support whilst in that hospital setting. Yeah, they're going to be thinking about the broken rib. They're not going to be thinking Lucy can't walk. Yeah. And it just becomes that secondary thing, which is difficult when, as a person, you're a whole thing. Yeah. You are both a visually impaired person with a broken rib or whatever it is.
When I had kidney stones and I went to have them removed, they put me under the sound wave machine, which my mum actually said in front of the doctor to his face, I think this is hocus pocus medicine. I was like, Mum, they've literally just put me under the machine. It's fine. Anyway, but when I went to the hospital, my mum came with me, obviously, and they said, "Oh, can you transfer onto the bed?" I was like, "It's a bit high up. I can't get onto the bed." They were like, "Oh, can you stand?" And I was like, "No, no." And they were like, "Oh, I was like, "Hoist." And they were like, and my mum went, I'll help her transfer onto the bed. I was like, Mum, it's not the point. If you weren't here, like, how would they get me onto the bed? And the room where they put me onto the, like, sound wave machine was so small, so tiny, that they couldn't get me, the bed, and my chair in the same room. So they had to, like, put me on another bed, wheel the bed in, and then sort of roll me onto the machine like I was a piece of ham. I was like, this is nice. But they
and it's humiliating, isn't it?
It is.
Just they've just completely failed to think about you as a person. All they're seeing is that
and
condition.
I don't know why the follow-up question to can you transfer is always, can you stand? No. Like, no, just asking the question doesn't make it happen like magic. It's just, no, I can't.
My version of that is, can you see? I'm like, no, what? Nothing. That is my always. I'm like, actually, yes, I can see lots of things. I can see, without using my eyes, I can see that you are being a twat.
It's just unbelievable. Yeah. Like if they think by saying the words "can you stand," it automatically goes. There's a genie pops out and goes, "Here's a pair of working legs."
It's like. Oh, has she not thought of that? Like, it's like, can you transfer? No. Oh, well, perhaps if we ask her to stand up, she'll just stand up because she's obviously not considered that as an option.
Have you ever had anyone give the directions to your dog when you've asked for directions?
No, I haven't ever had that quite. Not that I've been able to see, certainly.
We've had it happen when I was out with a friend with a guide dog and we'd asked for directions for something. Now, I can see, so it wasn't an issue, but they squatted down next to the dog who was called Sammy and gave Sammy directions of how to get where we were going. And I was absolutely pissing myself, like, as if that dog is going to remember that.
It's the thing. My dad still says this to me, and he, like, you know, I have been a guide dog user for 10 plus years now, and like my dad still tells this story to everybody because for him it was a revolutionary moment when we were talking, when I got my first dog and we were talking about crossing the road, and I was like, he sort of said, and when does the dog know how to cross the road? And I was like, she doesn't know when to cross the road, she's a dog.
You tell her.
And he was like, oh, of course. I'm like, yeah, like my dog is very smart. My dog knows her left from right, which like I know some people who don't know their left from right. Lucy doesn't know her left from right. You do the L's, remember? We talked about
L's, fingers, L's.
Yeah. But like, just people have got no concept. They seem to think if your dog has got a jacket on that it is smarter than every other dog ever. Yeah. It's like, no, this dog is just incredibly well trained.
They're also magnets though. As soon as they've got the jacket on, everybody wants to touch the damn dog.
To be fair, Dora sees me and I forget that she's got the jacket on and she just nearly pull you over. You're like,
that's the thing I apologise for, that I get really, really cross at myself for apologising for, is when people talk to Dora, I go, sorry, you're not supposed to distract her, she's a working dog. And even when you say sorry, you get the snottiest responses from people. And I'm also really cross at myself for apologising because my dog, I don't know about Otto, but Dora's harness has a sign on it that says, please do not distract me, I am a working guide dog.
Yeah, we've got that on the back of his jacket.
Yeah. So maybe, like, my thing I always say is I can see the sign, so you can see the sign.
But can I just say that you only have to be working in social media marketing to understand that people don't read things anyway. So even if it's like a post on Facebook to say we're closed today, somebody will go, what time are you open? Read it. Yeah. It's the thing.
And they also do read it and go, oh, I know I shouldn't, but
yeah. Can I just,
if you know you shouldn't, please don't.
So if they don't read things on Facebook, they're not going to read things on a dog's harness, are they? Do you know what I mean?
I had a conversation with a man once. I was waiting to cross a really busy road. It was like a horrible junction with multi-way traffic and stuff. And I was just waiting. And a guy came up to me and asked if I wanted some help crossing the road. And I was like, oh, I'm all right. I'm just waiting because of how busy it is. And he asked if he could talk to the dog. And I said, thank you for asking, but please don't.
Not pet,
people always say,
not pet the dog.
No, people
talk to the dog.
That is the phrase people use. People ask me if they can talk to the dog.
Yeah.
That's almost always the phrase people use. And I said, oh no, she's working. And I'm about to cross the road. But thank you for asking. I appreciate, you asking, because often people don't. Yeah. And he went, I went, often people don't, and just like fuss her anyway. And he went, oh well, if that's what people do, then I'm just going to fuss her anyway. And he just started talking to her, started touching her. I've never been so like thrown at people's rudeness, and I cannot believe that. I still can't believe that conversation.
Mm-hmm. We had it when he was in training. And there was a lady walking towards us with 2 little Chihuahua type dogs on stretchy leads, and they were all over the place. So I moved Otto to the side and I stood between him and the other dogs, because he was a puppy, like he was still learning, and we're trying not to say hi to everyone. Yeah. And she comes bounding up to us and she's like, can my dog say hi? And I said, oh no, sorry, I'm training. Not sorry now. Sorry, I'm training. Please, could you just keep walking? And she was like, yeah, but your dog wants to say hi. I'm like, yeah, no, I know he does, but we're training and he's not gonna. And she was like, oh, you're so mean. That poor dog will never have any fun. I thought, you have no idea. This dog has the best life.
Of course he does.
Yeah.
Of course he does. My God.
Right. Get in the fucking sea. Nobody wants you here. I hate it. I hate it. No means no. I don't know. They say this about other like areas of consent and stuff like that. But it just goes across the board. If somebody says no, please don't do that, or don't do that, then you just go, okay, all right, okay. I've had people
I'm going to pet the dog anyway.
I've had people be really like, oh, that's so mean, when I haven't let them feed my dog cake.
Yeah.
I'm like, don't feed my dog people. I'm like, no, she's working, and also don't feed dogs people food. No. And they're like, oh, but look at her, she's watching me. And I'm like, yeah, because she's a fucking Labrador and you're eating. Yeah. Like, our role as humans is to care for these dogs, because as much as they're brilliant and well trained, they're dogs and they will eat fucking anything. Mm-hmm. Like, she doesn't know that cake could kill her.
And also, if your dog gets sick, that's you without your assistance. For what, a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And it's the fear of that. Like, even when the dog does get sick, which of course it's going to, like, it's a working dog and it will sometimes eat floor food. And when your dog gets sick, it's that fear of, why is the dog sick? How long is the dog going to be sick? How long do I not have a dog for? Like, it's a really scary thing, and it impacts your entire life.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's a bit like having a PA that doesn't turn up for to support you, who doesn't turn in for work. That's happened to me a few times, and I'm like, what the hell do I do now? I've got nobody here.
Yeah.
Or the unpredictableness of agency staff. So you've got to tell them a new person every other day. Yeah. This is what I need help with. People are doing things differently. Did
I ever? I think I might have told you, Alice, about the woman who was agency staff when I worked for the BBC, and she came in. My other PA was off. She got, like, I think it was either her kid was sick or she was sick, and so the agency sent another person in, and the lady put rubber gloves on every time I asked her to do something.
You did tell me that.
Pass me a pen.
Like, just to pass you stuff.
Pass me a pen. Can you pass me that cup? Can you pass me that pen? Can you pass me that stapler? She'd put a pair of rubber gloves on, and I complained to the agency. I was like, I'm not an alien. She's not dealing with ET. It's, I'm perfectly...
You're not contagious.
She's not going to catch anything. And it's making... Not only is it making me feel really weird, but it's making my colleagues feel really, really weird, because they're thinking, like, what the bloody hell's wrong with Lucy? Like, has she come down with some sort of really bad sickness bug? And they never sent her again, because I just said, I can't have that. That's just weird.
I tell you about the woman who was supporting me at work. She was covering for my usual support worker, who I said, oh, I've got a video call. So if you just want to just sit there, for a bit, I'll just be on this call, and then like we'll get on with some other stuff. And she sat in the corner and watched Love Island on her laptop. And I was just like I know I'm not actively asking you to like be doing it, but this doesn't feel like this is okay.
I've had PAs before who've brought like a book in to read while they're not, like, I don't need them, and all of a sudden, halfway through like the day, all of a sudden they're going like this. And I've gone like, what the bloody hell? What's the matter? Thinking, oh, something's wrong. And they're like, so it's just a really like big turning point in the book. I was like, all right, everybody stand down. It's fine. Don't worry. Don't worry. They're like, oh my God. So I'm like, what's the matter? Like, sorry, it's the book. But it's just, people are just odd. Why are people so odd?
I prefer dogs.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
they're at least predictable and good listeners.
Yeah. Oh, such good listeners.
So
if Otto learned to talk, he would spill all my secrets.
Yeah, exactly. So what's next for you then, Chloe? Like career-wise, have you got any plans for like?
In terms of my nursing, I'm quite comfortable.
Yeah.
I really love the job that I do. I feel like I am valued in the role that I do, and that I can provide that help and support that I wanted to as a nurse. There are some things that I miss a little bit. Like I liked the more hands-on nursing in a hospital, but I do get to do that, but I just do it in a different way. So I do it to train care staff rather than do it to provide care. So I do still do it, and I've still got my hand in a little bit. In terms of my own sort of personal development, I have done my level 3 in assistance dog training. I've done a whole bunch of dog behaviour courses and other sort of dog training courses, and I want to help more people get the benefit of an assistance dog. Like, I wouldn't want to teach guide work, no way, no how. Like, that is a different skill altogether. But in terms of things that I have taught Otto, I feel like I could help teach other people those skills, and I know how much he's changed my life. And there's always that scary thing in the back of your head that they don't live forever, and obviously for a guide dog you join the list and get another one hopefully, whereas for a dog that has been owner trained, I have to think about what point should I buy another one. So I know I'm going to have to do it again myself, but if I can help other people in the meantime to train their own and to get that benefit and the independence from a dog, I'd like to do that. And I don't know when at the minute because I work full time, so like evenings and weekends, I guess. But it's another way of me being able to help people, but in a different way, because I know as a nurse I can't work forever, and realistically my retirement age from nursing is probably going to be younger than most of the other nurses, just because I find it that much more difficult to do the long days and the travel and the hard work. But I want a backup option because I can't be retiring like in my 40s, can I? So if I can help people train dogs, I guess that's a different career that still involves that care.
Well, and it's driven by your passion as well, and your like experience. And I always think that, you know, those are the people who, like you said, you know, right at the very beginning, the people who are best at their jobs are the people whose jobs matter to them for whatever reason. And if it is because of your own experience and your own kind of, you know, the joy that you've had from how much Otto has given you and how much he's helped you kind of flourish, that is, you want that for other people. You know, you see, I'm working with somebody at the moment who does not speak to people when she first meets them. She was unable to verbally engage with me at all. And in our second meeting, she started talking to Dora and talking to me by talking to Dora. And we are now at a point where, like I mentioned earlier, I'm supporting her to look at a dog to support her with her autism. And I know from how much I've seen that she's got from spending a couple of hours with my dog just in her living room while we've been talking about really difficult, really serious stuff. And she's sort of, she sits backwards on a chair and just talks to Dora the whole, you know, fusses Dora the whole time. And it is that, you know, if you can see the benefit for yourself, and you know other people who've experienced that, you can't help but go, because it kind of makes you feel good in a really selfish sort of way, doesn't it? You know.
And I think as for me as well, you know, in my work, so in my actual proper day job that pays pennies and everything, you know, unlike podcasting, which you know, it's a hobby,
which pays minus
minus zero.
If you want to help with the cost of podcasting,
I didn't even. I took half a breath there, and you were like, "Get in there, quick!"
You can donate to our GoFundMe to help continue to fund the podcast. Thanks.
Yeah, very smooth that, Alice. But I think for me, like being able to help people discover, like they can go out to these places that they would probably never have tried before, because that's the kind of thing that Access Able do. We provide access information to venues up and down the country, so it's it's not just like, oh, where should we go for a nice meal out for your dinner? It's kind of, can I get around this university? Will it, is the access going to be okay? And for me, being able to provide that information or have a portal where people can find that information, which then leads them to think, well, actually, maybe I could go out and do this and try this new experience for the first time. When we get emails in that say, oh, I've not been out of the house for 3 years, and then I discovered that this information on your website, so I tried it with my daughter for the first time, and actually I've discovered it's a really nice local park to me, so I can get fresh air. I think, well, that makes all the filling in spreadsheets and boring bits of admin that you often find yourself in any job having to do, that makes all the difference. And I think as disabled people, I think we can all sit here and go, actually, as disabled people, we are very good at seeing the reward of the work we do rather than, the monetary worth of it, I think. I think that's just my opinion. Like it might not pay megabucks. We might not be millionaires, but we're making little bits of differences here, there and everywhere to people who really need it. And I think that's something we can be very proud of.
And I suspect as disabled people, we're more drawn to fill in those gaps of, access and inequality because we live it.
Yeah.
And, that we've all had those battles that we've fought and won. And so we've all then gone, how can I bring this to other people who maybe don't have the energy or the support system or, the confidence to fight these battles, whether it's planning how to get out, whether it's realizing that with support they could return home or whatever it is, fighting against a system. I think that's we're drawn to those things.
It's like fighting the good fight, isn't it? We can't help ourselves. Can we just not have a cause to fight for a while so we can have a lie down? It would be quite nice. But so I think we are drawn to work that we find rewarding, and you can go, I've made that person's life or day or whatever a little bit better after a horrible experience. I think that it gives you a nice warm fuzzy feeling. It doesn't always pay the bills, but it makes you feel like, I've done a nice thing, which is great, isn't it?
And maybe you won't be remembered, but your impact on the world will be.
Hopefully. We can but hope. Hey.
Yeah.
Chloe, where can people find you if they want to follow you on the internet and things like that?
So my Instagram is wheelie.nurse.with.a.dog. That one I post more about me, about my work, about my social life. Like it's a more me one. And then we have Watch Otto Grow, so WATCHOCHOGROW, and that is Otto's life, and you can go right back to when he was about 6 weeks old, I think, when I first went and met him. So he's good fun on there. He's currently doing his cruise blog because I was too tired to write it at the time, so we're doing it in retrospect.
Wonderful. There's nothing wrong with that. That's absolutely wonderful. We will make sure that we put all of your details and bio and everything in your show notes that go along with this episode, so that people can find you and maybe connect with you if they want to find out a bit more about nursing with a disability.
Definitely, or just about being an ambulatory wheelchair user, because I think there's still a lot of people that don't understand it themselves or don't feel comfortable talking about it. But if they want to chat, I'll chat.
Wonderful, Chloe.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you, Chloe.
Thank you so much for your time today, Chloe.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and thank you everybody for listening. I think this has been really fun, really nice. Me and Lucy haven't recorded for a while, so this has been a nice chat. I was worried I was underprepared, but we did really well. Thank you, everyone.
It's like riding a bike, you never forget. Chloe, it's been lovely to speak to you today. Thank you for your time.
You too. Chat again soon.
Bye.
Bye. Shh. Don't wake Dora. Thanks for listening to the Labelled podcast. If you like the show, you can rate, review and subscribe, and you can follow us on social media at LabelledPod.
This episode was edited by Adam Hall. Our music was by Maisie Crunden, and we'd like to thank the rest of the team involved.